here to share a couple thoughts on how the world of online fashion has evolved in the last 4 years or so. I co-founded a website called lookbook.new. I am one of the 3 co-founders, and I'm the one who had absolutely no prior knowledge of fashion or the fashion world and its many intricacies. This is what it looks like. Essentially, it is a user-generated street-style community where our users post photographs of what they are wearing, and they then tag the items and brands that are featured in their look. It's similar to sites, or Lookbook is similar to sites like Reddit and Hacker News, where social voting is what determines the front page. And you vote for a look that you find particularly inspiring by clicking the hype buttons. So community hype not only is sort of a currency by which the users give each other karma and build and help build each other's reputations, but it's also how the front page is community curated. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about Lookbook too much, but building Lookbook has given me, as a very naive person when it comes to fashion, it's given me a good vantage point from which to observe. I'm going to take this off too. Okay, so things were really simple when we launched the site because for me, fashion content online boiled down to top-down versus bottom-up. And top-down content, you have the usual suspects, fashion magazines. You have their online counterparts like style.com. You also have a host of other ones. And they all have their subtle differences, but generally what I saw as a pattern was that they were all about trends, they were all about celebrities and what celebrities are wearing. They're all about what you have to have this season, how you should wear things, beauty tips that you should follow to look beautiful, and there's just this underlying, this is what you should consume, this is what you need to buy. So it was very commercial. And with bottom-up fashion, this is what really fascinated me, because even though I wasn't super interested in fashion, I was really interested in the ways that people were consuming things online. And the forum is kind of like the quintessential Web 1.0, the first way that people started to come together in groups and talk to each other about interests, their common interests. And every single fashion forum that I researched, the Fashion Spot happened to be the biggest one. They all had a thread called "What are you wearing today?" and it was abbreviated to WAWIT. So every single fashion forum, whether it was like a vintage forum or like a premium Japanese denim forum, they all had WAWIT threads, And so this was the type of content that we wanted to focus on and streamline and take global. And then you have this guy named the Sartorialist, aka Scott Schumann. Made a living going around New York City taking pictures of really cool people looking really stylish. And actually got a book deal, but I got more of a kick out of this other guy named Mark from LA who went to parties. He called himself the Cobra Snake, and he went to a bunch of hipster parties basically and just took pictures of people getting drunk and wasted. And it was really raw, it was really edgy. It gave people a new kind of content to consume. And then you have back in 2008, you really start to see the rise of these really big fashion bloggers. Susie Bubble from the United Kingdom is one of the biggest. She has great personal style. She did this one post where she kind of did 7 days of rainbow style where she dresses monochromatic. Very, very creative talent. But she also, it wasn't just personal style, she was also very much caught up with fashion shows and the latest trends. So she had a post where she might comment on the fact that at London Fashion Week she saw 4 girls wearing the same red ribbon on their hair, and she might, she'd postulate that maybe this is because of the lead character in Gossip Girl. And then she would go on and talk about her own obsession with adorning her hair, and she'd show some of the things that she made herself, and she'd then comment that she was more inspired by Natasha Khan from Bat for Lashes and Rambo. And so she's going for a more, she's not really going for that neat, girly aesthetic. So, bottom-up fashion was all about inspiration. It's all about creativity. It's all about how you remix different clothing pieces from different sources and come up with your own original voice, and it's social. It's a community. You get instantaneous feedback, and it just for me, the underlying message is that fashion is art. And when we built Lookbook, we wanted to focus on this. We didn't want Lookbook to look like whowhatwhere.com or goflugyourself.com. You know, we wanted it to just be really minimal, be a blank slate where the user-generated content really defined the culture and, you know, the presentation of the community. So now, you know, fast forward 4 years, the fashion world loves bloggers. You know, bloggers like have been hailed as the next big thing, and there's some really incredible success stories that took place between then and now. Fashion bloggers gracing the front row of fashion shows in Milan and in Paris and New York. Brian Boy, a prolific blogger from the Philippines, became friends with designer Marc Jacobs, who actually created this bag and named it after Brian Boy. So the bag is actually called Ostrich BB Bag. And you know, so his rise to fame, you know, eventually he got signed by the Creative Artists Agency, which also reps the likes of LeBron James and George Clooney. So bloggers are, you know, some bloggers at least are now, you know, top tier A-list celebrities. Fashion Toast, Rumi Neely, aka Fashion Toast, is also another example, signed by Next Models. And then you have Tabby Gevinson, started blogging when she was 11, joined Lookbook when she was like 12, and it was like we didn't know what to do because you know, we didn't have a policy in place, or we didn't have a protocol in place for you know, the COPPA Compliance Act, Child Online Privacy Protection. So we didn't know what to do. We didn't know if we should like ban her or like try to get like parental consent. But you know, anyway, like, you know, once this caught on, brands all of a sudden, you know, wanted to work with bloggers. Every brand, small to big, you know, upstart designers and big retailers, they all wanted to tap into this you know, this wave of influence that bloggers had. So they started advertising on blogs. They started doing sponsored posts. But really, what you saw was, yeah.
5 minutes.
Okay. Really, what you saw was tons of freebies getting sent. So all of a sudden, this blog that you read for their unique, authentic voice is, you know, they start posting looks where you know, they're getting sent free stuff, and you know, it kind of dilutes the integrity, I guess, and you know, very unbiased article from fashionista.com, you know, one of those top-down editorial sites. They start questioning the editorial integrity of blogs, and that's actually the you know, this is an actual horrified blog reader. They use this in the article. So you know, some of the comments from the article said, you know, the bribery has become so obvious, it really lessens the charm. I think that the days of the pureness of blogs is gone. You know, it's very tragic stuff. So you know, it's kind of, so we're kind of like at this place where it's like, is fashion art or commerce? But you know, to be honest, fashion has always been art and commerce. You know, it's always been something that is material and something that is driven by consumption, but it's also something that's very artistic. And you know, the old media kind of used to just dictate the trends, and that was it. But now it's like that's just the starting point. It's almost like Top Chef. Like the judges give you the ingredient, but it's all about like what kind of amazing creations they create, you know, and how they make those things their own. So basically, sponsored content is here to stay. And you know, I like seeing like good examples and bad examples of how brands and bloggers or content producers have worked together. I think there's a couple of ways that, you know, the two can coexist, that top down and bottom down can coexist, that brands and bloggers can work together and preserve both, you know, purity and artistic creativity, but also be effective from a marketing standpoint as well. So the first thing that is very important is that you have to disclose. You know, you have to tell your readers like what products you're getting for free or whether or not you're getting paid. The other thing is that, you know, bloggers need to be discerning about who they work with. You know, I don't think that a blogger should, you know, compromise their voice by just working with anyone that will throw them free product or money. So this is one of our users from Ireland, very popular user. She actually wrote a blog post that was called Ode to My Doc Martens. And she wrote about how she had the same pair of Doc Martens since she was 15 years old. And you know, she said, they are my Dr. Martens, they are my history, my comfort, they have my love. This is not a sponsored post. You know, this is genuine loyalty to the brand. And so, you know, incidentally, Dr. Martens actually took their first foray into online marketing this past fall of 2011, and they worked with us to promote their First and Forever campaign, which was talking about, like, I mean, the tagline was everybody remembers their first pair of Doc Martens, but it was really more about first personal experiences that define your life, from your first heartbreak to your first love. And so they asked us to you know, get our community involved. And so she was obviously one of the first people that we reached out to, and we reached out to a lot of people, and they created amazing content. You know, and this one's really good. Like he's talking about his first fight. I got into some stupid argument. Next thing I know, we're throwing punches at each other. No hard feelings though. We ended up getting ice cream afterwards. You know, it's just like, it's very, you know, it's UGC. You can't make this stuff up. And you can see the all of these looks got really good reception. You know, a lot of interaction. They're talking about their first love, their first fashion show. We ended up like spreading these looks on our social media channels, and you know, all the looks kind of have a very distinct flavor, I guess. You know, a lot of different styles. And then they ended up posting these looks on the Dr. Martens Facebook page as well. So it kind of gave love to the users, and you know, people really liked it. So I mean, I just showed you 9 looks. There are actually more, but these 9 looks got something like 13,000 hype, 800 comments, 136,000 views, and that's not including views like on our homepage, because they'll naturally they organically rise up on our homepage. It's people that actually clicked in and view the site. So you know, it's 150,000 interactions for 9 looks, which, you know, I think is a pretty successful campaign. And so I think the way that, you know, we move forward is that bloggers have to be discerning, they have to be transparent, and they have to be bold. You have to you know, you have to continue to experiment and continue to develop your, you know, what makes you stand apart, what makes you distinctive. And brands need to have a genuine message. You know, it's not just buy my stuff. You know, and they need to actually be willing to let go of the message, because it's no longer about like what they want. It's just what they okay. So they have to be willing to let go of the message, and they need to be willing to share the spotlight and give credit where credit is due.
All right, a couple questions. I see Lily's all primed and ready.
So, Andy, do you think that Lookbook allows for new aesthetic forms that otherwise wouldn't be publicly visible, or does it reinforce existing aesthetic ideals?
It's a cop-out answer, but it's, you know, I think it's both.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I think that Lookbook allows for styles that you aren't going to see in magazines. You know, it obviously allows for more diverse, and it allows, and our user base is only 25% US, and the rest of it is like all over the world. You know, we have a really big following in English-speaking Asian countries like Indonesia and the Philippines, and you know, you definitely see differences between, you know, Polish popular users, Scandinavian popular users, and you know, users who are from Brazil or South America. But you know, they're definitely, like, when you build a site, like we wanted to sort of accommodate all different styles, but eventually a culture emerges. Eventually the community sort of embraces this aesthetic, and you know, you can gloss over it and you can dismiss it and say like, oh, all these looks look the same, but I don't think that's really sincere. So, yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering where you thought, or where you think designers fit into all of this, because for my sense is that when you're talking about top-down, you're talking about the established media, and when you're talking about bottom-up, you're talking about consumers who maybe become content producers. But when I think of bottom-up, the first thing that comes to mind for me is Marc Jacobs' grunge collection from Perry Ellis. It was like, you know, taking street fashion and putting it on one way.
Yeah.
Where do designers fit into your picture?
It's hard to say. I mean, in the beginning, when we first launched the site, we actually allowed designers to post looks, not of themselves, but of people wearing their creations. We actually sort of backtracked on that because we wanted to sort of take a narrower. We wanted to just really focus on regular user street style. But the long-term vision of the site is to figure out a way to bring brands and bring designers and bring stores into the fold of the community in a way that still respects what the community is about, but is also effective for designers. So I don't really know. It's something that we're trying to figure out right now.
I'm curious about when you do your marketing or outreach, do you reach out only to people who are already fashion bloggers, or have you gone into communities that are very stylish but maybe were not already fashion blogging at the time?
When we started out, fashion bloggers and those users that were posting in lightweight communities, like that's obviously where we went first, and then we branched out to people on MySpace who were friends with Vogue magazine, for example, and then but there's definitely a good amount of users that are not fashion bloggers at all. But there's a lot who start on the site and start getting big on the site, and then they decide to launch a blog where they can put different types of content. They can put not just pictures of what they're wearing, but also pictures of things they find inspiring, things they like. But we actually don't do any marketing ourselves. It's completely word of mouth at this point.
All right, I think that's all the time we have for questions right now, but I just want to thank Andy for a great presentation.